Matt, was the players described that play not going the way that you had drawn
Right.
it up. So what were, I guess, if you could share, what were you trying to do in
Yeah.
that situation?
We were just running a simple play, whether it was man or zone. We were running the same thing just to get the ball inside to Zach. So it was kind of like planes, trains, and automobiles when John Candy's just, making fun of the other guy because how do you know which way I'm going? He says, you're going the wrong way. We went the wrong way. And so then two people were there to get the basketball, and then Eric was stuck because, like, what's he supposed to do at that time? He actually did a really good job because a lot of times guys will break it, and then they'll just try to go and score. Well, the last thing you want to do is now give them a chance to go to the other end. So now this has happened, and we have no timeouts. So even if we don't make that, at least we go and play in overtime and try to win. He goes and shoots that early. Now they go in transition. They're making it. They've made everything for the past 20 minutes. And so, like, I thought Eric did a good job just to be able to get us into overtime. Obviously, we make the shot. We don't go into overtime. But, yeah, we got to concentrate a little bit better than that.
You didn't flinch when he made the shot. How is that?
What I try to get them to do is, like, do their job, do what you're supposed to, play as hard as you can, and live with the results when you do those things. But when you don't do some of those things, it just eats at you. And so that's why I didn't flinch. It's because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And normally the basketball gods are not with you at that time. And we're very lucky that they were with us because Ohio State was great in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game.
Coach, how important is someone like Mason's contributions? I mean, he's your leading rebounder, and even on that last play, he kind of set enough of a screen to free up Jaden. It seems like he's
Right.
continually contributing in some unsung ways, and again, being really
Right.
effective on the boards as well.
Yeah, just a hard charger. Just plays hard, competes. Gets on the offensive glass. Gives you everything. And you can't have enough of that. He's got a lot of substance as a player. Had that three to start the second half where they just kind of forgot about him. He just missed it. Then he comes back and hits the next three. Has that free throw line jumper when they're just overdoing things. It's a really good shot. So just trying to encourage him to take his open shots, but just, rebound the basketball. He gets his hands on a lot of balls and doesn't always get them. Like tonight, I thought he was great at going with two hands. He's got to reward himself for how hard he plays by getting basketballs with two hands. But he, when you think about the plays that were made, Eric Hunter's three was huge, late in the game. But his plays to give us extra possessions were huge also.
Obviously, being up 11 with 2.5 minutes to go. I'm sorry, is it my turn?
No, it's your turn. He just grabbed the
No,
mic.
go for it. Yeah,
Oh, I
go
got you.
for it.
So,
Being up 11 with 2.5 minutes to go, was
it's
it
like a
more?
ventriloquist, Brian. You know what I mean? You're
Was it-
talking and I'm looking at him and he's got a mask. It's really hard sometimes.
Pretty
I'll
weird.
get through it. Like in my 18th year, I think I'll get better.
Pretty weird, isn't it?
It's odd.
So you're up 11 with 2.5 minutes to go. Was that Ohio State taking it away? Was it anything Purdue needed to do
Both.
better to hold on to this?
Both. You're always going to have it from your perspective. We foul a three-point shot. We're down. We're up 6, and we absolutely say stay with your man unless he's just not a three-point shooter. Their worst three-point shooter that was out there is a guy that's already hit 2 threes, in Eugene Brown, and so you're going to stay with him too. So you're just staying with him. So it's all we talked about in the huddle because I took the timeout. So they're able to set something out, but they have a timeout and they can use it. I didn't want to risk what happened, and it still happens. So we just said, hey, we're staying with, our guys. Even when it gets kind of away, on the weak side, just stay with your guy. They score a basket here, and it stays at 2 possessions. That's what we want. We don't want this at 1 possession, and then we obviously didn't do that. But we made mistakes, and they made tough shots. And so, like, you got to be able to stay with some guys. And obviously we turned the ball over late against the press, and they make a huge shot there. We actually react pretty well to it to go pick up. And E.J. Liddell makes a really, really tough 3.
My turn now, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah, I guess you talked about needing to be comfortable playing a game in the 50s or 60s, and that's kind of what you expect from Ohio State. You guys ended up in the 80s again. What did you do to kind of speed the game up a little bit when they were trying to slow it down?
Yeah, I don't think we sped it up as much as we just were efficient. I think you can score more points and you don't have to go faster. You look at our second chance points, that's probably more of a difference, 18-11, than fast break points being 14-12. They scored off of our turnovers more, even though we only had 10, but they had 6. And they won that battle. But no, just trying to get your guys to understand about taking what they're giving them. Like, I felt we had an advantage inside. If we move the basketball and then play off of that and knock down some shots. Our Achilles right now is our free throw shooting more than anything. But the one thing that you got to keep in perspective as a coach is that no one's trying to miss a free throw. Like, when you break down defensively and you don't do your job, like, you got to be better. But, like, guys aren't trying to miss their free throws. But we're doing a lot of positive things that we're not rewarding ourselves. Like, if you start the game and you just get your bigs in foul trouble, and then we make our free throws and we just start to push the lead and get going, it's hard. But, like, they're fouling and getting in foul trouble, but we're not making our free throws. And so, like, it allows them to kind of hang and understand, like, hey, if you got them, like, take your foul if those guys aren't going to make them. But I know those guys both have been working really hard, on their free throws. But we just got to keep working. We just got to keep getting better. But we can't lose sight that we're doing good things. I know it doesn't seem that way when you don't make your free throws, but we're doing positive things to get to the free throw line.
Well, Matt, you kind of stole my fire because I was going to talk about free throw shooting. You seem to be up and down. Some games you shoot the ball really well from the free throw line. Games like tonight, not so much. Is there anything that you can see that it's their mental approach or not just concentrating or
Yeah.
what do you see as maybe?
Well, I don't think you can give an answer in theory about 10 different people shooting free throws because each one's different. Zach has to just stay under the basketball. He lets the ball slide off the side of his hands. That's why you see a lot of his, hit the front of the rim, hit the back. That should naturally roll in. It shouldn't roll to the side. His rolls to the side and kind of hangs on that lip of the rim and then goes off. That's the way he misses a lot. He's got to do a better job of just staying under the basketball. Travion's just got to get himself into a rhythm. And so, like, that's, he's got to stick with his routine and be detailed with his routine. I thought a little bit of Jaden's other night when he was 2 for 7 was just missing a game, coming back, and then he got frustrated. It's a very frustrating thing because everybody out there says, well, I can make free throws. And then it's always like, yeah, well, what's your percentage with 15,000 people in the stands? And it's like, okay, you never played, and so it doesn't matter. But no, you work on them. You try to put competitive free throws, put them in different situations in practice. But you just got to step up there. When you get up there and you're thinking hitting and missing, you're going to miss. You got to get up there and think your routine and do your steps and your process, and then trust the process. But we'll keep working on it. Yes.
First half of the game, you held Ohio State to 30 points. It was one of the, and this has been a common theme throughout the season, that you kind of slide going into the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an effort thing, or was it like in the first half how you started switching off men, kind of pressing up, not letting them take three-pointers?
Right.
Is there something there that needs to be worked on or can be improved on in the second half?
Yeah, I don't think it's schematic. I think it's more concentration. Like, we lack concentration when we get up. I told our guys afterwards, it's like they're holding on is the best way I can put it. Like, we get leads in the first half and we get overzealous, and tonight we didn't do that. Like, we didn't start taking bad shots or guys, throwing behind the back passes, or like you just kind of lose your mind. We have 2 turnovers at halftime, which was fabulous. Then in the second half, we really played well in a stretch in that second half. Like, we did some really, really good things. But when we get leads, and this happens to a lot of people, I don't think you stand alone here. It's very, from a human behavior standpoint in competition, when somebody gets a lead, you're like, well, why does this team always relax as much as the other team putting their foot on the gas and take off? Well, it's a give and take. It's easier to make shots up 18, down 18, right? The game's kind of a little bit out of the way, but it's not. Like, people come back and people have those runs. It's just concentrated effort. Like, you got to keep doing your job. You can't have breakdowns, and we just don't do that. Like, you think about subbing and doing different things at that time, but you also want to keep your best guys in there when it matters the most. But we have struggled in that area. It's a very honest thing that you said, because it does happen. But I think it happens to more people. It doesn't make it right, but we just got to concentrate and do our job. We lose our focus and do silly things and let them steal points.
You talked about how you've been doing this a long time, and you've coached against Chris enough to know that his teams aren't going to go away. I guess coupled with that, with what you were just talking about, how do you try to convey that to your team, knowing who's on the other bench, that his guys are going to keep playing for him, and they're not just going to go away when you guys
Right.
are up 20?
Yeah, nobody in our league is going to do that. No one's going to go away. They're going to keep going. Everybody invests a lot of time. Coaches, players, administrators, fans. Like, you put in a lot of time. But when you deal with talent and you deal with good teams and good programs like they have, like that just goes without saying. Like, but like I said, once again, it's a little bit of a byproduct of youth. Like now it's like it's time to, when it's at 17, like, oh, we got this. Like, in reality, obviously you don't. We've been a part of, a lot of experiences, but they haven't been a part of a lot of experiences. So, and I've talked about it a lot lately. You become kind of their parent in terms of how they listen to you. Like, everybody kind of ignores their own parents at times, and you think they're full of it when actually they're not. But that's the coach is kind of in that role, and you're sitting there talking. And the other thing that happens through competition is just your fatigue factor in a huddle. Like, if you've ever played before and walked out of a huddle and then said, okay, what are we doing? Well, I do just talk for 2 minutes. What do you mean, what are we doing? But there's not a person who's ever played that hasn't done that, because you're just at that, you're fatigued, you're worn down. You got to be able to concentrate like when you're tired. You got to be able to do your job like when you're tired. We have a pretty deep team, but at the end of the game there, like, we just had so many breakdowns, and it's just, through fatigue, through competition, but you got to concentrate and do what you're supposed to.
That's sort of like the baseball analogy. It was great to have a closer, but it's also nice to score a couple runs in the top of the ninth.
Correct.
How important is it, like, down the stretch going forward and trying to learn from this, though, of just being more efficient offensively as well?
Right. Yeah, no question. Like, we had some good moments there, and we had some shots. Like, we had an open three, we have a post up, we have a free throw line jumper. So we got some okay shots in there, but then we have a couple empty possessions like you're talking about, where it's like, what are we doing? But we had that against Iowa the other night. Like, when we got up, we have 3 or 4 possessions. It's just like end up being empty. And it's just a focus. And sometimes when you're struggling in certain areas, well, if you're good from an offensive efficiency standpoint like we are, run good offense. Like, get quality shots, get to the free throw line, get layups, get wide open threes. Now you have a better chance of setting your defense with that. But yeah, we focused on that all year in terms of when we're struggling in other areas, let's be even better in the areas that we're having success with.
Coach, circling back to Zach Edey, the ball's supposed to be in his hands in that last play.
Yes, ma'am.
If we can look more at a bigger picture here for people that don't know his full story, how do you describe the player that he's become in such a short amount of time for you?
Yeah, well, he's an outlier. Like, there's nobody else out there like him. There might be some people of that size, but they don't have the skill that he has in terms of his ability to make, shots around the rim. Like, it's a really tough matchup for people. But he averaged 4 points 2 years ago in high school. Like, Jaden Ivey's a really talented player. He averaged 12 his senior in high school. So, like, these guys are young players still learning. But Zach is, he's a matchup nightmare for people. And he's worked really hard defensively to try to stay on the court as much as he can. Like, they were really trying to stretch us, especially when Kyle Young's at the 5. And that's hard for him, even though I thought he had a couple really good contests with it. But no, he's a joy to coach. He comes early, he stays late, he works on his game a lot, takes in things, watches extra film. He's always wanting to get better. So stuff like that, if you can have a lot of guys like that, that gets contagious, and that's a good thing.
Coach, I guess just what kind of goes into the decision to have Jaden Ivey come off the bench for the second game in a row?
Yeah.
He said he was feeling fine, could have played 50 minutes, he said.
Yeah.
Just what kind of goes in that
Yeah.
decision, and what does that give for a guy like Eric Hunter to kind
Yeah.
of come in and impact the game right off of the tip?
Yeah, no doubt. Nothing really. When something kind of gets created organically, sometimes I stay with it, sometimes I don't. Like, he practices one day before we play Iowa, and then we barely practice these next 2 days. And so, like, if you're injured so much where you can't play in a game, like Sasha had it last year with COVID, and he was probably mad, like, at me, but he plays 14 minutes, plays like 20 minutes, plays like 27 minutes. I'm probably off a little bit here. Then I start him after that, just to kind of, like, if you're going to miss a game or you have to miss a game, it just doesn't always click like that right away. And so, but I just try to gauge it. I don't have like a magic answer for that. But I know when somebody plays well that is used to start and that didn't start, now, like, we've gotten some pretty productive minutes from him. Isaiah was pretty good against Iowa in that game, and now obviously he's a great player. He's one of the best players in the country. So we just got to figure out a way going forward how we're going to handle that. You can just put it in the suggestion box. I'll read it. So, but no, I don't get caught up with that. And you see, like, a lot of people kind of grab the narrative with Zach and Travion. To me, it's not that big a deal. It just isn't. But you just try to make a decision on, like, what you think is best for your team to win. You know, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but you use your own experiences and the things that you've been through to try to do that. And that doesn't make a lot of people happy through that, but, like, if you want people to be happy, you shouldn't be coaching. Like, you're never winning that battle. So just do what's best for your team.
Where is this suggestion box you speak of?
Oh, it's right in my office. You just walk by and just put it in. Yeah.
Is there a difference in Eric Hunter now versus a month ago?
I think he's playing with more confidence. I think it's, you know, it was hard for him coming off the bench after he started. But no, he's done some really good things. I thought he had good energy, made some shots, made some plays, was getting to the basket. He missed that one, but it was a good drive. It was a good decision. He got stuck a couple times and then reverse pivoted and got a post feed and ended up being a foul. But just, you know, he's got a good pulse to him right now, you know. And then from a defensive standpoint, I thought, like, he took some challenges on, you know, guarding those guys. But he's been very productive here the past 4 or 5 games.
Were there better stretches defensively in the half court for you before
Yes.
their big run came?
Yeah, we actually did some good things, you know, for most of the game until the end. And then we just had so many breakdowns at the end of the game. Like I said, I thought we were just kind of holding on. But I thought our guys did some good things on the defensive end. I mean, it kind of shows you how good E.J. Liddell is. I thought we did a good job on him, and he gets 20. Kind of just shows you the quality of play. He reminds me a lot of Carl Landry. He's a little more mobile. But, like, I think he's going to have a long NBA career. That's my opinion. But I'm pretty sure of anybody that can shoot, that's got that kind of frame, that can move that way. Those guys are tough matchups in any league. Thanks.